Okay, so I don't have music instruction for this week's video, and I just needed to take a break. I needed a breather. I don't usually do this, but this week this year, I just needed to do it sort of as we end a year and we start a new year. I thought this was the perfect time to just take a week off, not create any instructional material like I normally do. But I did want to create a video that's got some value, at least I hope it does to you, and maybe some inspiration. And so what I wanted to do as we're starting a new year, I thought it would be perfect time to do like a little goal setting type video. And I've got some thoughts written down. Some of this is going to be sort of disconnected thoughts, but hopefully you'll get something out of this and this will inspire you. So the first question I have for you is, and this is just a philosophical thing, you can just think about it, but why are you playing guitar? Like what are you trying, like what got you into this? Why are you doing this? It's hard. It hurts your fingers. It's frustrating. Why are you doing this to yourself? Pause the video if you need to and think about that. Honestly, I didn't even know the answer to that myself. Because I was 15 when I started, but I started thinking like, why did I do this? And I think, you know, the reasons change over the years. And when I first started, I had a friend that played, and I thought it was so cool. I wanted to do what he was doing. And I saw Back to the Future, and I saw Marty McFly doing it, and I thought, oh, I want to do what he's doing. And so that was the beginning goal. Obviously, through the years, it all changes into other stuff. But why are you doing that? It's just something to think about. And then hopefully that thought process will lead you to what I want you to do next, which is to write down what you would love to do when it comes to improvising. What is the end of the journey for you? Like, where do you ultimately want to be? If you could be anything, if you could paint the picture of how you wanted this thing to go, what would that be? And have you thought about that? Have you really thought about, like, what is the end for you? Now, I realize that there is no end when it comes to learning to play an instrument. Actually, when it comes to learning anything, there shouldn't be an end. That's good news too. It just means there's always something new and exciting. But if you could paint a picture, and maybe it's just saying, I want to be able to play like B.B. King or Jimi Hendrix, or fill in the blank. Or maybe it's a combination. I like the vibrato style of B.B., but I like the way that Stevie Ray Vaughan bends strings, and I want to be able to do this and the little Chet Atkins and whatever. But I want you to write it down with pen and paper, and that's very specific. Like, don't type it on your computer, don't type it into a phone, write it down, because, and I know this sounds corny, but I'm a big believer that something magical happens when you write something down as opposed to just leaving it in your head or even typing it on a computer. When you write it down, that thought has now entered the real world. It went from here down your arm to a piece of paper, and now it's something tangible. I can hand that piece of paper to somebody else. I can tear it up. It's something real, and it has significance. And so you don't have to share that with anybody, by the way, but I want you to write down just some of your thoughts, and like, why am I doing this? And then, like, where would I like to be with this whole thing? You can just sort of put that aside, but put it somewhere that you can sort of look at it from time to time. Because what we're going to do is, over the course of a year, as we're starting a new year, starting 2026, I want you to just look at that from time to time and remind yourself something happens when you see that physical thing that you brought into the world from your thoughts. And you look at that, that'll be a little reminder for you. Even if you just look at a little part of it, it'll spark thoughts and kind of motivate you. At least it does for me. When I write down ideas, when I did Active Melody, when I created this business, I did the same thing. I wrote down all these thoughts, and a lot of them are disconnected. And you don't understand why you're writing them, but your brain has this weird way of kind of knowing. So anyway, that's the first thing. And then I also want you to record yourself playing something. We've all pretty much got a smartphone or have access to one, or you got a computer or something, but just record. It could be a video or an audio, but just you playing kind of the best thing you can do today. Whatever that is. Maybe you just improvise a little lead. Doesn't have to be like a whole lot of thought that goes into this, or maybe it's a song that you can play or a song that you're working on, but just record yourself doing a few things saying, this is kind of the best of what I'm at today. And then maybe it's speed. Maybe you're trying to get faster. Well, record the fastest thing you can do, even if it's just like doing a little scale run or something. And because I want you to come back and revisit this in 365 days. And by the way, if you're watching this video and it's not beginning of January, or it's not even 2026, all these principles apply. 365 days from when you start watching this video. But I want you to record that because I'll bet you anything, if you listen to yourself in a year, assuming that you're continuing to work on stuff, you will be a lot better than you are now. Even if you don't sound like the people that you wrote down, you're not sounding like B.B. King yet, you're going to be closer to B.B. King. You're going to be closer to those goals. And here's the truth. 1 year from now, that date, whatever today's date is, 1 year from now is coming whether you like it or not. So think about that. As long as you're alive, that date's going to come, and you're going to be sitting there staring at that date. And so knowing that, it just sort of makes you, it sort of puts you into a different mindset that, okay, we're going to do something about it. And by the way, you can apply this logic to any type of goal. It doesn't have to be music. It could be weight loss or, I don't know, whatever your thing is. But I want you to think about where you're going to be in 1 year, because you are going to go back and you're going to look at the things you wrote and you're going to listen to yourself play, and you're going to see a massive difference, and that's going to totally motivate you. All right, so as you're learning how to improvise and learning how to compose, basically learning how to play another instrument, I wrote down these 3 components that I think make up this learning process and make up what it is to be a musician. 3 things. I think you can boil it all down to this. So the first of those is knowledge. And so knowledge is just the ability to understand what your parameters are. So if we talk about playing in the key of A, that would be the knowledge bit. And then the scale that you use, maybe it's the A major pentatonic scale or the A major scale. It's knowing what your parameters are and what you're working within. That's the knowledge part. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people think that they have to know a lot more than they do. You can take what knowledge you have right now and just go with that. You'll learn more stuff down the road, but even if you only understand one scale, let's say you only understand the minor pentatonic scale in one key, that's fine. Work with that. But I just want to point out that when it comes to learning, the first step is that knowledge component. You have to kind of understand some parameters. Now, the second component is technical. And so this is, to me, this is the one I struggle with the most. So once you understand what the parameters are, then you need to be able to physically do the things with your fingers. I have a bent pinky on my left hand, and so that's a little bit of a handicap that I have to work with. We've all got something. I know a lot of you have arthritis. And are you missing digits? I get emails from people that are missing digits or missing entire fingers and all kinds of scenarios. Some of us are left-handed, some of us are right-handed. There's all these things. But you have to work on the technical part of playing, and that's, to me, the hardest. And so I struggle the most with the accuracy between my right and left hand when it comes to speed. I've been playing for years and years, and it wasn't until the last maybe 5 years that I've finally started to get faster as a guitar player. And that was just because, I know something clicked in my brain, but it took me that many years. I worked on it for years, and it just never happened. Some people are, they're 15 or 16 years old, and they're incredibly fast. So I think some of that's just God-given. It's just what we have. But don't let it hold you back. If you have a little bit of the knowledge of what you're supposed to do, and even if you can't play a bar chord because it hurts your fingers too bad, figure out a way out of it. And figure out, even with your limitation, you can find your sound. That's the kind of cool thing. You don't have to be like that guy or that guy. You can just find your thing. And find it even with your limitations. And that gave me a lot of comfort when I realized I was never going to be a super fast guitar shredder. I realized, you know what, I've got a handicap there maybe, and maybe I can improve it a little, but I can work with that. I can still make music. I can still tell a story. In fact, I've made a whole business, a whole career out of music. Even with my slow fingers, I'm still able to do it. So component number 1 is the knowledge. Component number 2 is the technical bit. Component number 3 is the application. And so once you know what you're doing and you can do it, then you need to apply it. And the application part comes from listening to music and knowing kind of what sounds you want to create with it. Like if I know a scale and I know how to play the scale, now I need to know what licks I can do with it. That's the application part that I'm talking about. Now you can get that from Active Melody. I teach that all the time. Every week I'm doing new lick ideas and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of other people doing what I'm doing on YouTube and all over the internet. So that's one route to go, is just straight through instruction like that. The other route is to just find the artists or the music that you like and focus in on those little moments that happen in a song and try and learn those. Even if you don't know why it works, just try and learn how to do it. That is the best application advice there is, I think, is just, to me, it all started with Albert King. I had this album called I'm Ready. And that album was the first thing that I was able to listen to and figure out on my own. He was playing slow enough and logical enough. I understood he was using minor pentatonic scale for a lot of it. And I was able to make those sounds. And I was so thrilled when I could do it. I couldn't sound exactly like him, but I could kind of get in the ballpark. And so that became my application. And once I learned those Albert King licks, then I wanted to say, okay, well, now if I played them in a different song, took that same lick that I learned in A, but I now play it in B, can I do that? And I learned how to do that, and that that just started my whole journey, and it's still going. I'm still learning new things and sharing them with you. Now here's the cool thing. Of those three components of learning, knowledge, the technical bit, and the application, you only really have to be good at two of them. You don't have to have all three. In fact, I think it's kind of rare when you're good at all three of them. I'm pretty good at the knowledge part, and I'm pretty good at the application part. I've got a great ear for stuff, and I understand why it all works. I suffer a little bit when it comes to the technical part. There'll be something I hear somebody do, and I just can't physically do it. But that's okay. And there's a lot of you that will be great at the technical part and great at the knowledge part, but you just don't have the licks. You're not listening to the right stuff, or you're not listening to stuff and trying to learn. So we've all kind of got of those three things, they're like levers. We've all kind of got our strengths and our weaknesses of them. But as long as you've got two of them, go with that and be excited about it. And I think a lot of your guitar heroes probably have just two of those three. I know for sure a lot of the blues guys will tell you, I've seen interviews where they'll say, I don't really understand why it works. So the knowledge part is very low, but they're great with technique and they're incredible when it comes to the application. So just kind of keep that in mind, that you can work with your deficits. As we have these like little deficits or handicaps, it's not a game changer. It means you still got to push forward and you still got to try and make music. So I just wanted to spell out those three components of learning so that you can kind of maybe think about which one of those things you're the weakest in, and start working on maybe improving that one thing. And so the last thing I want to mention here is all of this stuff comes down, in the end, it comes down to you. It's really not about me or some other guitar instructor on YouTube giving you the information. I mean, we do that, obviously. I mean, there's so many of us doing that. Or one-on-one instruction. I mean, that's another way to do it, where you pay somebody in private. But it still comes down, the heavy lifting in the end comes down to you. And so I'm only mentioning that because you have to do your own self-discovery. You have to figure out the things that you want to do. And so that's why it's so difficult to try and with Active Melody, a lot of people say, well, where do I start? I get that question all the time. Where do you want to start? I never looked at learning that way, that there is a start. We start here and then we do this and then we learn. And it doesn't really work like that. You really start where your interests are. So for me, with the Active Melody example, just pick a lesson that sounds interesting. You can sample all of them if you're on the website and you listen to one and go, oh, I kind of want to learn how to play that. Then you can go into it, and in that lesson, you can start to understand what's going on, and I'll make back references to previous lessons. If there's any prerequisites or anything, I'll mention that. But that's how you do it, is you just jump into a lesson. And whether you're doing it with Active Melody or you're doing it with somebody else, just even on YouTube, just in general, find something that sounds interesting, go there, learn how that kind of works, and then how to play it, the technical part, the why behind it, which is the knowledge part, and then understand how you can apply it to other scenarios. And once you have that, you've really learned how to do it. And so all of that falls on you. There may be somebody showing you how to do the lick, but you've still got to do those other components. And so that's just the truth of it all. Okay, well, I hope something in this little diatribe has resonated with you and given you some motivation for some things to kind of think about and work on as we enter this new year. And just remember to record yourself playing today and write down what your goals are. Put it somewhere that you can kind of look at it from time to time, and you will get there. You may not get to the end. You may not sound exactly like Jimi Hendrix, but you're going to sound a lot more like Jimmy in 1 year if you just write it down and you work towards it. All right, we'll see you in the next video.